Really helping people create a career out of real estate and have them look at it as a business, right? I think that is something that realtors don't do very often. They look at it as a job. Realtors are business owners. I think sometimes in real estate it can be very glitz and glamour when you really kind of get past that and you realize like it's actually about the support you receive. It's actually about the education that you receive dealing with legal contracts and, really big purchases for people and lots of money. It's more about those things than it is about like fancy.
Thank you for watching. We are here today with Hannah Hickman.
Hello.
Hannah, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
joining us.
Of course.
Let's talk about all things real estate.
Okay.
And welcome back. I'm so excited.
She's back.
Yeah, she's back, everybody. Talk to me about what are you doing now and what do you want the audience to know?
Yeah. So prior, when you knew me prior, I was more in like a broker admin role, managing. So kind of switched gears. For realtors or for people to create events and have if they want to host their own training or host their own networking event, there's kind of a home base for that. So we're in Fort Worth, kind of right in the heart of Fort Worth, really close to TCU, really close to downtown. So it's location's great, but also just kind of a good place to get people together. And then my role there will be to bring in more people. So, not only, so bringing in more people and then kind of helping with development from there, as far as, what they're looking to do in real estate and really helping people create a career out of real estate and not just, and have them look at it as a business, right? I think that is something that realtors don't do very often. They look at it as a job. Realtors are business owners.
Right.
They're in the business of sales and they are creating their own business. And I want people to start looking at it that way.
Yeah. So in my career, I've met a lot of business development officers in all different areas, whether you talk about title, lenders, a broker, real estate broker. I find it very unique and a power to you that you are a realtor.
Yes.
So in essence, you have a license, you've closed transactions with closed families together.
Yes, we have.
You are a homeowner.
Yes.
And so I feel like that is a huge advantage of the role that you're doing with the new company now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, because I've been there, right? So I know what it looks like. I know, the hardships on, both sides of things when you're in a transaction and working with clients versus when you don't have clients and you're like trying to get to that transaction part. So, I've been licensed. I think it's like 8 years now, maybe going on 9, something like that. And so, I've kind of seen both sides of it and it can help me, I think, really with that like business side of things of like, okay, this is what I've seen work here. Have you tried this? Right. So I'm not just giving suggestions that I've never seen put into use.
Right.
And I think sometimes with people that are trying to give realtors advice, if they haven't been on that side of it, it makes things a little harder because it's kind of like, listen, I know the struggle. I know the, hardships, and this is what I've seen work for people, and hey, are you treating it maybe in a way that you shouldn't, you know? I think kind of helps us, you know, really relate to people and relate to realtors that are, you know, maybe struggling or that they feel like they're not in the right spot. They haven't found the right broker home, because I have kind of been on all sides of it, right? So I've worked for the big box brands. I've had teams at big box brands, managed a small boutique, you know, and then this new area is kind of, I think, a little bit of a middle ground.
Right. I would consider you a mentor to other realtors in so many ways because of your background, because of the power that you bring to, you know, to the team. Thanks. And you do have a team. Tell me a little bit about the team that's supporting you while you're out there, you know, talking to other realtors.
Yeah. So Texas Connect kind of, they were their own brokerage, right? And then they kind of did this merge, and the goal really was to bring in more support and to bring in kind of I would say the good parts of that corporate broker tools, right? So I have Anna Becerra, who is she is the Texas Connect team manager, right? So she is but she also, you know, is the kind of the liaison with LPT Realty and their kind of, you know, their corporate team that's helping everybody. She's that liaison. So you have somebody in person that can explain things, that can show you that, you know, you're not just on your own trying to figure out, how do I do this? So she's just a pivotal role for especially all of that admin side that really bogs down realtors, right? That's why transaction coordinating has become so popular, is because the admin side just, it can, you know, kill your business if you don't know how to manage it. And then we have Tiffany Becerra, she's been in real estate, probably going on 15, 12 years, somewhere around there. And she is just a wealth of knowledge for our agents in contracts, in the sales, in dealing with clients.
She knows her stuff.
Negotiating, right? So it's just having that person that has so much knowledge that you can ask, like, hey, does this sound right? You know, especially for new agents. I mean, it is invaluable having people like that to go to, right? And then Josue, who is the team lead. So he was our managing broker when it was, you know, kind of a private brokerage. And he has now just kind of jumped right into this team lead role of consistently being there for agents and, you know, having been in this business for years and years and created multiple businesses from just starting out being a realtor. And now you look at him and he has, you know, custom builds and he has investment properties and investment companies and all these different things, right? He really is kind of that role model, I think, for people that want to make real estate a generational business for themselves and for their family. So just having that, you know, so that would be like that's my support system, right? So I've got those people that I can kind of sell, right? Like, hey, this is why you should join in with us, and you would be surrounded by these people that not only want to help, but they're here and willing, and they find it part of their job is to help people. Yeah.
Let's talk about DFW Real Estate Center.
Yes.
Which I think it's a brilliant...
We like to call it the REC, right? Like, just like I love a good, you know, short nickname.
Yes.
So
I think it's brilliant. I think it shows the type of character that's behind the name and the idea. Tell me what it is and who is it for and how can we join?
Yeah, so it really is, we want it to be this like hub for real estate professionals. So it offices the Texas Connect team, right? So they have offices there, but it also is just an office for anybody that's a part of LPT Realty. It's a place to come in. We have open workspaces all throughout. We have a huge training room. We have great conference rooms. So we really do want it to be this hub for people to come in. And I just feel like so many people think that real estate is so competitive, and it's really not, and it doesn't have to be. You really can. Like there's so many people.
Everybody.
There's so much business. Even for the amount of realtors that there are in this area, there are that many more people. So it really is just a place to kind of cultivate your business and figure out what's going to work for you and how you want it to grow. That's really what we want it to be, is like a hub that you can come in and you have a workspace to work if you need it. You have classes going on multiple times a week. So if you need to, kind of refuel, or you need a training, we want to have events in there. We want it to be a place where people can have their own events. So, we want to bring in seminars monthly, maybe even multiple times a month, for not only the community, but for agents, and just for it to be a really, I guess I keep going back to like this hub, right?
Yeah.
So a real estate hub, it's a place where people can kind of get all sorts of different, not only education, but networking and just support, I think would be the best way to describe it. Kind of feel like they have a home within their business, because for realtors, it can be a little lonely, because you are your business, and you don't have to go into an office. And so in the beginning, I think especially, you're like, ooh, I am free. I am going to go and I'm going to work from home and I'm going to watch TV all day, but you get to the point where you're like, okay, I think I need a little more stability. What am I doing?
Yeah.
How do I do this?
Yeah.
Especially in those lulls where you're not having as many transactions come through, you start to kind of panic. Whereas if you have a place that can hold you accountable and you have some, stability, I think that provides a lot.
Yeah, I have to be inspired by the people that I surround myself with.
Absolutely.
And I have to have a little healthy competition, right?
Right.
Otherwise, I'm just like happy with just helping 2 families a month, and that will pay my bills, and I'm fine. So for me, it's important. My environment is extremely important.
Right.
If I was a new agent, how would you support me? Do I have a mentor that is going to be available to answer my questions? Are there specific classes that you guys do for new agents? And also for those agents that have been with their license for a few years but never really got to where they needed to be?
Sure.
Tell me a little bit about those programs that you may have.
So with us, what's nice is you do kind of have the option, because we do have the team, right? So the team is going to be, so that's the Texas Connect team. That is going to be your ultimate level of support. So they kind of have, their own things as far, so I'll give you a little insight into the team and what that looks like. So as far as support goes, you have one-on-one mentorship with basically our entire staff. So a new team member will have one-on-one access to everybody, but also will have one-on-one meetings with everybody, right? One-on-one opportunity weekly to meet with Josue, your team lead, with me, right? For different aspects of creating that well-rounded realtor as a business.
Yeah.
So you really do get that one-on-one mentorship, as well as, there's leads. And then we do have multiple trainings a week. We have business rallies, right, where it's really accountability with, other people on the team and with the team lead hosting it. So it's, and it's straight up asking, what did you do for your business this week? And you say it out loud in class, right? So it really is that accountability. So having that one-on-one mentorship with, like I said, Tiffany, Anna, myself, Josue, to really kind of help, like I would say, fast track the learning aspect of real estate. So that way you can get out there and start the doing aspect of it. That, right? And then so LPT has a ton of just built-in marketing. They get you set up with your signs in the beginning, all of this different, those were kind of some of the great things to pull from this, kind of corporate broker side of things, is that there's a ton of support and just access there. So there's a lot of online access with a CRM that you don't have to pay for, which for people that don't use it is so important, and you don't realize it until you start using it. There are leads that you don't even realize until you kind of nurture them, and that's the best way to do it, right? So access to all of these different tools like that, that you don't have to pay additional for, is great. And then like I said, having that place where it's an office space that is not your house or that you're not having to pay for, and there's kind of like a place to go, I think makes a big difference in the beginning.
I do think that the office space that you guys have is amazing. I love it. And that's super important for me. Like I said, I can work from home if I wanted if I wanted to, but I can only do it for like a day or two. After the third day, I need to see other professionals in my environment. And the office, and because you guys moved to a new office.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're still in Fort Worth. We have moved to a new office. There's just more space. It's I'm like, I just feel like it feels brighter. It feels, just like almost a little homier, but yeah, there's just more space and we're there, right? So it's not an office that you come and you're like, I don't know anybody, like who do I talk to?
Yes.
Like we're all there. We're all there every day. You see people coming in and out, but you're going to see familiar faces every time you go in. And it's one of those things where, especially when you're a new agent, you're like, I'm nervous about doing this. And I'm like, okay, well then I'll go do it with you because, it's one of those things where you have to, if you have those people that are willing to kind of like hold your hand in the beginning, it's easier to kind of just thrive on your own. And that's really our goal, right? We want people on our team to be, feel so supported that they can go out and do all the things. And even if they're like, okay, well, I don't know how to use any of these systems, that's okay. You get out and you start getting clients, and then we'll get down to the nitty gritty and we'll make sure that you figure it out.
I do have to say and mention this, that I have known you guys for several years now, and I have watched when new agents join the team and how they start with no families, right? And they come in and they're brand new to the industry, and slowly but surely they start closing families, 2, 3, and then next thing I know, I love watching those agents that are top producers now, right? It's just, it's a beautiful thing. Even though I'm not there every day, I do watch, the agents when they start, and that's just because they call us for questions.
Sure.
And they're brand new to the industry, and the training that they get from Anna, Tiffany, everybody in that office shows that they do have the right support to become top producers.
Right. And I think you have to build some sort of foundation, right? For any business. It doesn't matter what your business is. There has to be some level of a foundation that you can then build upon. And I do think that like knowledge and knowing what you're doing, especially in real estate, is so important. When new agents come in, like you are somebody's, you're their consultant. You are the professional in guiding them in some of the biggest decisions that they're going to make. So yes, it's just some paper and you're sending it via e-signature and you're having them sign, but it's a big deal and there's a lot of weight that is behind it. So making the choice to be somewhere where you have really unlimited support in all of the different aspects of real estate and figuring that out so that you can best serve your community and the people that you're helping. When somebody chooses to hire you as their realtor, they're truly putting a lot of trust in you. And I don't think people realize that sometimes, like how much they're, trusting you that you're going to guide them in the right direction.
Right.
So knowing things and having that, and granted, not everybody knows things right in the beginning. So then having people that do know the things that you can reach out to, so that way, to your client, those things, right? It's kind of one of those things where I'm like, whatever knowledge I have, you have right now, right? Because I'm going to give you whatever I can. So that means that's the knowledge that you should have for your clients.
Let's switch it to you are the realtor, right?
Okay.
How hard is it to become a realtor?
To become a realtor? So it's actually surprisingly a lot easier than you'd think. I say that, but to get a license, is that where we're going to go all the way to the beginning? Okay, so to get a real estate license, not as hard as you may think. I really think you can get it done in like 6 weeks, depending on what your schedule's like, right? So you have to, sign up with a real estate school. Oh gosh, Gracie, it's been so long since I've done it. I'm trying to think of how many classes. I think it's like 8 2-day classes, I think. Don't quote me on that,
yeah.
but it's something around there. 8 2-day classes where, and there, I mean, it's a lot of information coming at you all at once. And the real estate schools are really geared towards like passing your tests.
The book.
So you take the classes, you pass those tests, and then you take the big test, right? With the, with TREC, with the Texas Real Estate Commission, you take the big test. You pass that and you get a license.
And you get a license,
You get a
right? And then
license.
after there, I think I do. So I'm not a realtor. I am a lender. But when I was taking my classes to become a lender, then you have other lenders or companies that come in and tell you, hey, you can work with us or for us. The same thing with a realtor, right?
Yeah.
You finish your classes, you pass your license. What is next?
So you have, in the state of Texas, you can be a licensed salesperson, but you have to, they call it hanging your license under a broker, right? You have to, it's required. Brokers have a further level of education in real estate. And so then a broker becomes responsible for you as a salesperson. So that's where your next step is to choose, right? So a lot of, I think, new agents think that like, oh my gosh, like I have to go interview and like they have to choose me. It's really a new agent choosing their broker. So you should treat it more as you interviewing a broker, I think. As a new agent, that's how I think you should look at it, is like you have all these options. You need to interview them to see where you're going to fit best or what's going to provide you with what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then once you finish with your license, you need that space or that broker to sponsor you.
Exactly.
And you just said it. Realtors should do a little bit of research before joining, that broker. Because having a team as a brand new agent, it's not as pretty as it may seem on social media.
Yes.
The reality.
I could not agree more. So this is one of those things about real estate where I wish people would maybe take into account a little bit more. I think sometimes in real estate, it can be very glitz and glamour. And it's like, sometimes it's not about that. It's not about the name brand. It's not about the fancy, the shiny things. When you really kind of get past that and you realize like, it's actually about the support you receive. It's actually about the education that you receive, because you are in a business that's dealing with, legal contracts and, really big purchases for people and lots of money. And, so it's more about those things than it is about like fancy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I love fancy. You on the weekends, you will find me going to fancy restaurants. That is one of my favorite things to do.
That's a lifestyle, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like, when you're thinking about your business, like, yes, if you want to have this fancy face out there, I think there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you have the education and everything to back it up.
I just think that we make it seem, and I'm gonna say we because I am a lender and I am out there on social media, right? We're recording, right? YouTube channel and everything, and we make it seem easy,
yes.
Right? And when I started this, I remember, I've worked really, really hard to get to where I am today. But I remember working 24/7, literally working 24/7. And I remember watching other loan officers going out and about almost every other day. What? And I was questioning myself. I was like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
How is it that they find time to go do extra activities and they make it so easy, and it looks so easy on social media until somebody was like, Gracie, they're not closing loans. That is the issue. Like, that's your answer right there. And I would be like, wait a minute. Oh my gosh, you may be right. Like, that's why they have time to go and do all these things.
Or you're looking at people who have, pound the pavement for so long that they have a team built out because they treated it like a business. And so now they can be the face that is showing all the fun things.
Yes.
And the, all the big money and all the,
and that is
the
allowed.
things coming through. Right.
Yeah.
But but what you didn't see was years and years of never seeing them, right? And all the hard work and all the sleepless nights and all the different things. Trust me, it's so funny. I think because that is what is kind of out there so much, and that people don't see the real work aspect of real estate professionals, whether it be a lender or a realtor or, you know, anything in between, is because that's the face that people want to put out there, right? This is because they want to. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, you know, shiny things attract people, right? And so you don't really see the hard work. So it's funny you say that, because I have a boyfriend who's an engineer, and I can remember him thinking and kind of saying in the beginning, like, no offense, but I think realtors, like, I think that's kind of like, you know, like not a real,
it's
like that's not a real, yes. It's like, what are they needed? What are they used for? Right. That's truly how he was. And I think it's because before we met, his one and only real estate purchase was like a brand new home. And it was, you know, his friend was his realtor, and he didn't, you know, tell him all the things he was doing behind the scenes, you know? So that was like his impression. And I remember after he bought his last home, because he called me 24/7 asking me so many questions, I'm like, yeah. If you didn't have a realtor, you would be the one having to answer all of these questions directly. Like, you know, doing all of these things, you would have how would you have any idea what to do? Yeah. Right. And I think that appreciation, because he got to see the behind the scenes, and I would tell him, I'm like, well, your realtor's doing X, Y, and Z right now, or this is what's happening right now, right? Your lender's doing X, Y, and Z right now. And I think he kind of got a different side of it, right? Instead of what you see, like you just see these realtors with, you know, cashing these big checks, he got to see like, oh, there's a lot of work. Yeah. There's a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes in a short 30-day period that are stressful.
Right. Because we only see the pretty photos around the homes.
The closing tables.
Right. You know, the happy families at the closing table, but almost no one really talks about, you have 30 days. When the clients come to me, and I'm so blessed that I work with amazing realtors that take the time to educate their families. So by the time I'm talking to them, I know that the realtor will take their hand all the way to the closing table. And I see it in emails. What is a 30-day closing? When is my closing date? Right. And I do see a lot of misunderstanding when buyers are looking into a brand new home and they think they don't need a realtor. Right. Yeah. So I have one case specifically where I couldn't sleep for 2 days because I couldn't convince my buyer, that he needed a realtor. And then I finally picked up the phone and I said, hey, how do you know that the toilet is supposed to be where it is? How do you know that the home is actually 110% perfect? We don't know that. Nobody's perfect. And so even when it's a brand new home, you still need that pillar to help you walk through all the paperwork.
Well, this is somebody's full-time job. Right? This is somebody's business. Their career is to be knowledgeable on these things. If you were as knowledgeable as your realtor, then that would be your job, right? So like, take my boyfriend for example, like you're the engineer, you stick to that. I want to know that my bridge is safe when I'm crossing over it. Like, I'm not telling you what to do, right? You should kind of look at it the same way as like, these people they make the money because they have train themselves and put the education and the work into getting the education to be able to advise and know like, hey, a builder's not here for you. They don't want to give, you know, like if they can cut costs and they can, unfortunately, right, in some of the world we live in, some of these, you know, giant big box, like their goal is to have a good bottom line. Right. Their goal is their net profits. Their goal is not to help a family.
They're not really going to remember your name next year, right? They have to look through the files to see who closed last year. But, but you need that support from the realtor and your lender to get you to the closing table within those 30 days.
Right. And to know what to look for. Yeah. You know, like, just to be like, hey, okay, this X, Y, and Z, we got to figure this out so that way you can get to the next step. I think, you know, and it's confusing to people. And it's nice because when your lender and your realtor can work well together, you as the client really should feel no pain, right? Like, yes, you have to provide things, you have to answer questions, but if your lender and realtor are copacetic and everything kind of works smoothly between them, they can kind of get done a lot of things, and the client doesn't have, they'd be like, wow, this is so easy. This is so great.
Okay, so no one really talks about the process of, everybody tells you need to talk to a realtor, you need to talk to a lender, you need to get pre-approved. The lender tells you apply at gracieperez.com, send me documents. I will talk to you about what loan program you qualify for, monthly payment, cash to close. And then what happens?
Right.
You get under contract, and then what happens?
I mean, so that really to me is where your realtor steps up, and they step in and they're like, okay, because things are time sensitive. Mm-hmm. There are time sensitive dates in the contract that you sign, right? So you are immediately these are all things that are negotiated before the contract, right? It's part of it, but you're immediately in an option period. That option period, what that means is that you have X number of days to where you can back out of this contract for any reason. So it's kind of the buyer's time to do some due diligence that they may not have had the ability to do during just doing showings, right?
Under pressure,
right?
In a way, right?
When you're doing showings on a house, you're not going to bring in 15 contractors to somebody's home when you're just looking at it, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like you fall in love with the house and then you try to figure out if there's a bunch of stuff wrong with it to where you're like, oh no, I don't want to do this, right? So showings are for falling in love with the house. Your option period is then for figuring out, is this house up to the standard that you want, right? Some people want something pristine, move-in ready, don't have to do any work to it. And this is the time to find that out. That's when you can do an inspection. That's when you can have a contractor come in and say like, hey, XYZ needs to be done. Or for you to find out, like, especially if you're like, you want a fixer-upper maybe, and you're like, okay, but I need to know what I'm in for. That's your time to do it, is that option period. But while your option period's going on, that's also a time clock for your lender, because there's other contingencies involved here. So there are, there's a, if you're getting financing, you have a financing period where you got to make sure you're getting approved. So having somebody that can tell you, okay, we have 5 days for your option period, you have 17 days for your financing. So we need to make sure these key points are happening during that process.
Right.
So you would have your option period. During that time, you negotiate repairs. So that's, where you could potentially negotiate concessions if you're, getting money, or signing off on the seller doing repairs, things like that. Typically, once the option period is kind of through, that's when like, okay, I'm comfortable with moving forward with the house. We've negotiated, as far as the condition of the home. Mm-hmm. Then we kind of start really diving into the financing and the lending aspect of it. With your appraisal coming in, making sure that meets, standards and everything like that. And then just, working with your lender to make sure your client, all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted, and they're going to be able to get to the, finish line.
One, I find the following very important for buyers, because I do see it a lot during option period, which I normally see $100, $200. Yeah. So in essence, you're getting under contract on a home that you are going to possibly close on it in the next 30 days. I do tell all my family and friends that are about to buy, the option period is an opportunity for you to decide whether you want this house or not, just like you mentioned, but also how old is the roof, right? Yeah. Foundation here in Texas, that's a big thing.
It is.
What warranties do we have on the foundation? How old are the windows, right? Sometimes if you're doing a VA loan, then you have to worry about termites, right? That's when you do go deep into the statistics of the home and the foundation of the home. Roof, I cannot mention it enough. It's so important. The worst thing that you can do as a brand new home buyer is closing on a home with a damaged roof.
Right. Well, and this is, in my opinion, is where, as a realtor, having those contacts, having people you trust. The state of Texas does not require a lot when it comes to roofing companies. There's a lot of people that can just go out there and
inspect the home
as a roofing company with not a ton of credentials. It's one of those industries that is just not super regulated. So your realtor having really trusted contacts that they've used time and time again, it becomes very important as a client, right? Especially when you're talking about a time crunch. You got 5 days to find multiple vendors that your clients trust, or that you feel comfortable getting information from. That is very important, especially when you're thinking about getting homeowners insurance and things of that nature. It can become very important. And when you have a time crunch to do that, that's, I think, where a lot of realtors can really show their value and show their worth in not only the contract process, but also having those contacts. And that's where, I that has been something that's very important to me, is to build up contacts of really trusted professionals. So that way, for, people that join our team or that are, that office with us, I can share those contacts and I can feel comfortable sharing them. Because that's something that I grew up in the deep South. Your reputation is everything. I had a mother who wouldn't let me have chip nail polish. So by goodness, you have to have a good reputation. And I think it becomes very important in the professional world. And so as a realtor, having somebody that you can refer your clients to and feel like they're going to take care of them the same way that you would, I think is so important. And I think it's a great value add when you can build that. And that's something that, not only myself, but Josue, Tiffany, Anna, they also do that. So that way we can have agents come to us and we can give them those referrals when they're in those time crunches.
So just to summarize, once you get under contract, that means that you submitted an offer on a house that you liked and the seller said, yes, I will sell it to you, Hannah. So you have signed, executed contract. The contract gets to the lender. I am working numbers with you, with the buyer. I talk to you about loan program, interest rate, monthly payment, cash to close, and I read and follow what the contract says. Then the buyer has an option period. It can be 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. During the option period, the buyer can negotiate with the seller with the help of the realtor if you want a brand new roof, a new foundation. And I'm going extreme here.
But new roofs happen more than you would think. We live in Texas. Hailstorms come in. I mean, honestly, I feel like these days once a year. I mean, we had multiple big hailstorms last year.
Absolutely.
So that is something that is 100% happening.
Super important to me because I have a few friends that close with an old roof, and then having to see them going through the pain of, I just closed on my home 3 months ago, and now my insurance is telling me that I need to find a different insurance provider because my roof is old or is damaged, and having to pay.
And they're becoming stricter, right? Insurance companies used to be like, no big deal, it'll be fine. But because we do live in an area where wind and hail is just so prevalent, they're becoming a little stricter on those things, and they're not, just, insuring anything these days.
And then we move from option period to the financing period, which means that the lender has up to a certain amount of days from the date of the contract to get that buyer pre-approved, conditionally pre-approved. That means that an underwriter has been seeing the file and gave you conditions. Then we, as the lender, order appraisal, just to make sure that the buyer is paying really what the house is worth, because no lender will be giving you a loan on a home that it's not worth its value.
Exactly.
And then after that, then probably 5 days later, then you get to the closing table. Yeah.
It's such a quick, I think it's crazy, how quick really it does happen.
Yeah. Usually here at the office, our average closing date, I want to say it's probably 12 days.
I mean, that's amazing. First of all, I mean, it's amazing. And that's where, having that relationship with your lender, just like you do with these other vendors. So that way you can be, competitive when you need to be for your clients, and you can push, if there's, I don't know if we see it as much right now with where the market's at as far as multiple offers, but hopefully we get back to that point, because that does mean that
it's a cycle.
Exactly. And so when you have somebody that you can be like, hey, we're in a multiple offer situation, can we squeeze out a few extra days? And you have a lender that's like, okay, I've seen X, Y, and Z, I think we can get it done. That's so important, especially in that market where you might have to submit multiple offers for one client. Your lender telling you, hey, if we can get the client to submit X, Y, and Z, we can be so ready to go when they find a house.
Yeah, and that, what you just described, that's strategizing the correct way.
Exactly.
And that probably needs to be another video, right?
Because it's like, it's not only about just getting an offer accepted, but strategizing like what's going to work best for this client. All the different loan options that are out there, programs that are out there. I mean, there's so much, and you want to make sure that your client's doing the best option. And so you can kind of help guide them with that as well.
Well, I think we have come to an end.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Is there anything else that you want to say to the audience? A tip, a business tip? An advice?
Goodness. I think if you're a new realtor, interviewing brokerages, I think, is so important, and not just going with like whatever big flashy name you think is going to help your business. You are your business. Your brokerage is not your business. That would be my tip of advice for realtors. For potential clients is interview your realtor, interview your lender. Like, don't just go with Billy Bob because he lives next door to you. Like, just because you don't know them, or even if you do, like finding somebody that you're gonna click with, that you think is gonna kind of give you the knowledge and have the tools to get you, where you're wanting to be home ownership wise. That would be my tips.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Me. Of course,
and,
anytime.
We will have to record another episode.
Of course.
Yes. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys for watching.